Hello everyone, welcome to Homemakers Radio. I hope you get a few things done while you listen today. I don't have anything to show you today except the little pitcher that I have that's for cream for tea. You can see the teapot in the background, and someone noticed that I had this teapot and found the creamer and the sugar container and sent it to me. And it's by Elegance, which came from, I believe, either Ross Home Goods or Marshalls. And of course, I just love that color. It's a mint green or sage green, and I've used sage green ever since it has kind of come out on the market and been more available. So I wanted you to see that. This is the little sugar container. Nobody I have for tea uses sugar, so I put other things in it. Maybe I might even put food in it. And if you are new here, I don't have comments on the channel, but you can click the link that in the description box and go to my blog where I have embedded this video and watch it there and look at the other pictures and maybe some of the other things that I put on the post. And so I hope that you get something done while you are listening. And also, if you'd like to leave a comment, that's very helpful. That always gives me ideas. Sometimes somebody will ask me to cover some subject. That always gives me, I can always use material. I can always use an idea to get some material to talk about. And I try to speak long enough that you would get something done. Now, I know it seems astonishing to people that I could talk for 45 minutes or an hour. But haven't you ever been on the phone with a friend while you're working in your house and you're getting something done, and you find out that an hour has gone by and you've gotten your rooms cleaned up and you've gotten your dishes done? Well, I can do it easily if I think of you as someone who has phoned me up. So I want to start the day out with your appearance for the home. Many of us are home now, and some of us are in captivity like I am. I have been here since July, and this is my 7th month home without going anywhere in the commercial world. I haven't been shopping. I have ordered everything, and Mr. S has to go out to his various appointments so he can get me things on the way home if he needs to. And also, I am finding that my interest in other things has grown since I have not been so distracted by that commercial world out there. I hadn't realized how much time it had taken for me. Of course, I live out on farmland. It takes me a while to get anywhere, and then it takes me a couple hours out of my day. So I have found some changes around here, and then I'm also found that even though I didn't think I had any anxiety, that I'm feeling so much different now that I realized I probably had some tension and some anxiety from having to go out there and face the commercial world so often, and I'm really enjoying ordering like in the olden days. And so we have 3 sections that I try to use here. One is to your preparation, getting ready, your appearance, and the other one is a little bit about home life, a little bit about the house, a little bit maybe some tips. And then the third part is about dealing with people or even homeschooling. Now, I don't have a homeschooling section because, in general, life is homeschooling. If you were a homeschooler in the 1980s, we did not have curriculum in the early days. And so we kept our children home to teach them about life, to teach them how to be polite and kind and clean and neat and tidy and diligent, and how to read and write properly, and how to take your time with things. In school, one of the worst things they ever did to us is hurry us, because a lot of people would learn handwriting and then have to be forced to take notes on something and write real fast and have a scribble. And so with homeschooling, it's all about learning to love life and learning to behave as God would have us in the Bible. Love your neighbor as yourself and love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, which embodies all the 10 Commandments of the Old Testament. And so if I don't say this is for homeschooling, it won't be because I'm not homeschooling, but everything is. This is the way I would have talked to my children when they were growing up, is what I'm doing for you. So let's talk about getting ready. I'm just going to sneak over here and get my box of things that I was going to show you later on. Getting ready, because this is the way we did with homeschooling. Those children knew that when they got up, it was a wonderful, bright new day given by the Lord, and they had joy in their hearts. And we had a little spiral notebooks, and every day after they had got ready, or even when they're just maybe still in bed, they reach over and get their little notebook, and um, they had colored pencils, and they would draw a picture of the sunrise or whatever they saw or thought of, and write a verse from the Bible under it. And I still have those. I found them the other day. I wished I had known more about journaling, but that was long before, and before some of these things were developed so well and the art materials were so much better. Well, we just did what we could, and that was one thing that they did. And then they tried to be able to quote some part of a verse when they came out of their rooms. And then when they used the bathroom, they were to leave it neat and tidy and clean as though they had never been there. And they were to actually set everything right, arrange the towels, come out, and always be just perfect in the way they dressed and really neat and tidy, come to the table, have breakfast, and everyone was supposed to be polite to each other. We did not have blow-ups and somebody in a bad mood, because if that was a problem, they would get sent away from the family to another room till they could come back in a better mood. And sometimes they needed to go back to bed, and sometimes they just needed to take a bath and start over. And but they could not come and disturb the rest of the home. And so this early training prevented a lot of problems in the home later on as they approached the teen years. And so we had a good fellowship after some of this early training. This early training is so simple and yet so neglected. So I'm trying to teach that to you as a homemaker. Take care of your appearance first. Now, to me, it doesn't matter what time you get up. I don't have a schedule. I get up when my body is ready to get up, and sometimes I may go back to sleep for a while because I just feel like my mind needs a little bit more rest, because sleep, the art of sleep, is so important. It restores the brain, it restores the body, and it heals. So the first thing to do is to get ready, and as homemakers, we want to make sure that we look pretty. If you feel pleased when you look in the mirror, when you walk past in the hall, wherever you have a mirror, or if you are happy with what you look like, you're going to even speak differently. Your words will be soft. Your words will be kind. If you look sweet, you will sound sweet. Your actions will be kind. And so that's why your appearance is so important for the home, because it should be a place of soft relaxation and comfort. And so try to look the part for the home. I was listening to a lady on YouTube talk about the clothes we wear and how it should draw the focus to the eyes and to the voice, because this is how you minister. Your soul, in a sense, is seen through the eyes and heard through the voice, and how our clothing shouldn't be so discombobulated and edgy in other places that people are distracted by it and cannot come up to your face. And so that's really important. And I think also that you should have I have invented a new word, so I will say, I think you should have a happyosity in your appearance. And if you are feeling discouraged and gloomy and unworthy and pitiful, if you'll go into the bathroom and get scrubbed up, get cleaned up and fresh. It's just like I'm taking an art course, and I know what it means to have a clean canvas. And that means you get to start all over and draw things the way you want to on that canvas. So really, after you've bathed, you have a clean canvas to work with, so you can dress so beautifully, and every day can be different. That's something you can change. Everybody's worried about the political situation and the social situation. It's really sickening, isn't it? Here I am, been a captive since July, and I still have to hear about it. You don't ever get away from it completely. I have lots of company, and that's because people have realized that they must visit the captives, those in captivity. So Here they come. And the last time I had someone here was just a few days ago, and they came over and they fixed tea for me, and they provided all the goodies. It was so interesting, but of course they ended up talking about what was going on in the world. And I suppose Jane Austen put up with this a lot, because she said she told her sister Cassandra that she never went anywhere. She was invited by her sister to visit, and she says, I never leave home. But she got plenty of information just by listening to the people who visited them, and that was the source of many of her characters in her novels. So happyosity, dress for happyosity. That's my new word that I've invented, and I would like to challenge you to figure out a way to use XYZ in Scrabble. You ever play Scrabble with your children or with other people, and you always end up with these odd letters that don't spell anything? I think you should invent words for them and put them in your little scrapbook box, and declare them legal to use. As long as you have a definition for them, you're allowed to use them. And so I want to also talk about, while you're doing your hair and doing your skincare, how important it is to have your exercises. Now, I use Fabulous 50s, and nobody's going to find anything that's absolutely perfect, but I use her for several reasons. For one thing, I think that even a teenager would be good to follow her exercises. The other thing is that the exercises make you feel good. And I have been, over the years, to exercise classes. I've watched exercise videos, and they don't make me feel good. But her exercises do. Because, for one thing, it's not a bunch of jumping around. It's effectiveness of the exercises. One thing I noticed was that she would explain, she'll every now and then have a video that will explain what the exercises are for. And in connection with your taking care of your appearance, I like to do the exercises next, because I'm all dressed up, I feel fresh, and I feel like I mean business. And when you're dressed up for the home, I think you should wear the clothes you've got that are the nicest, because wear them out, because there might be something better coming along later. Just go ahead and wear them. I'm now digging into clothes that I have saved for going out, and I'm wearing them in the home. It really makes a difference. I just love them. And so exercising, she'll take, like for instance, when you're doing something like this, she'll emphasize that the elbow is what raises the forearm and the wrist. Instead of moving this part around, she'll emphasize take this and lift it. And it's the same with the knees and with the abdomen. She'll say use that to lift your knee with, and so it makes such a difference in how you feel. And you should listen to her instructions. I don't care for some of the background music or some of her philosophy, but I think even if you got a perfect Christian to teach ladies exercise, you'd find something you didn't agree with, or something that didn't seem right with you. So, and people always try to give you some of their philosophy just to encourage you. And so what you have to do is overlook that and try to go to the main message. And so the other thing is that breathing is so important. The type of breathing that you do. Most people breathe real shallowly, and they're holding their breath, or they're just tight up in here. And there are some videos, not necessarily hers, but others, that teach you how to breathe in a way that is the most effective, and it's called, I believe I looked it up once, and it was the stomach breathing. Like when you see a little baby breathing, their tummy goes up and down, doesn't it? Well, we started to learn to catch our breath in our throat and just kind of breathe up in here, and shows how detrimental that is. I'm not sure what videos you could watch that would explain this, but I have found that friends of mine who I used to think looked terribly stressed, their faces were pinched, they had lots of lines on their face, and it was premature. They were only in their late 40s, and after they got into stretching exercises which emphasized breathing, I noticed that their face was relaxed, and the lines were no longer as prominent. So I think there is something to the breathing. It's very good to have oxygen in your blood and to breathe in and out the right way and to have the lower stomach breathing. And so ladies, you might want to look that up as part of your preparation for your appearance for the home. So that's what I've been doing lately, is getting myself prepared with my appearance and then going to my exercises, because these exercises are not so vigorous that they require exercise costume, exercise clothes, that I can go ahead and wear what I'm wearing. And I wear a skirt too, even though I wear leggings. I wear a skirt as well, and I can still do the exercises just as well. And I always feel so much better after exercises. I walk differently. My posture is better. So there you have a couple of things that you can do for appearance and for preparation. It's your exercises and your appearance. Now, if you've got children around you at home, they can just do what you do. My children just used to follow me around and just kind of learn the routine. And they kind of, would come in and out of the room if I was exercising, but they knew what I was doing. They'd just check on me to see what I was doing, and gave them stability to know what I was doing and what I would do next. So now the next thing I want to go through is how your appearance, getting ready, can create your own weather. Remember in Sense and Sensibility when Marianne's mother told Margaret, who actually was a character I think that was created for the 1995 movie Sense and Sensibility, because I don't think she was in the novel, but she said, Margaret, if you can't think of anything nice to say, please confine your remarks to the weather. Well, that doesn't work around here, because our weather's been so sloppy and dark and cold, and I have to eliminate that too. I can't talk about the weather. But with your appearance and your home and the way you keep your home, you can create your own indoor weather. And the other night I was feeling, well, it wasn't really night, but it was dark. And in the darkness, I'm thinking, this is pretty dreary. What shall I do? And then someone suggested I go get all the battery-operated strings of lights, the little tiny lights that are on wire and has a little battery case, and put them back out again. So I did. I got them out, and I put them in plants, and I put them around different things in the house. I put some of them inside of an old bird cage, and I put some of them on a table around the centerpiece, and I put some of them along the mantle. And so I had all these battery-operated lights, and what a difference that made. That just was really calming. So if you're having trouble with anxiety, especially you ladies who towards the evening or at night start developing anxiety, I would really suggest you get some of those battery-operated lights. I think they call them fairy lights, or there's even some called curtain lights, and you just mount them above your curtains, and there's a little dial you can turn to turn them on and off, and they kind of dispel the darkness. And so darkness could, if you're having trouble with anxiety, it could be you're very sensitive to darkness, to cold, to dullness, and so you might want to change some things around your home to see if it makes a difference. See if it makes a difference. Start with your lighting, different ways to light up dark corners. And then your colors. Experiment with colors. See what an effect colors have on your mood. And what I do is I don't spend any money on redecorating. I buy my blankets in solid colors, and then I will lay one of them around a chair or a couch to cover it, and then I also have cushions that I can cover with something that is the same color, and lay those around and just kind of experiment with how that makes me feel. And there have been a couple of fails in the colors that I've used, because everyone is different and color can have an effect on your mood. So give that a try also. The other thing that might help is if you stay away from the commercial world for a while. Give yourself a fast from the commercial world. Now, I've really been enjoying ordering, but not everyone will feel the same way. Maybe you would like to go out. I wouldn't. And I'm not going to go out until, of course, I have farmland here, and I can walk around, and I have the meeting house next door, and I have lots of company. So I don't have any desire to go. I know that I'm going to have to eventually, but I'm going to see how long I can stay here and what a difference it will make in my creativity, in my mood, in my perception, in my intellect, and my brain ability. And I just want to see also if I could catch up to a few things that have for years really bothered me. For years, it really bothered me that I could never get to that. I have a floor-to-ceiling bookshelf with 1,000 books in it, and I could never seem to get to it. And little by little, I have almost got that finished. I've got 3 more shelves in it out of 10 shelves. I've got 3 more to work on, and I'm just do it gradually. But instead of going somewhere or go back, to me, going somewhere is going to the library, going to the music room, going to my exercise room. I've got all these places that I call different areas, or going to the dining room, or going to the kitchen. So these are places that I go. And so if you are having anxiety, cut down on the amount of time you spend in the commercial world and see if it makes a difference. Now, at first, if you're staying home and you're trying to be a little more isolated, the first few days can just about do you in, and then you get used to it, and after a while you don't wake up anxious because you know you don't have to go anywhere. You know your day is not going to be a rush, 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 and then coming home and trying to rush through everything. So just give yourself a chance. Try some different things. Try your appearance first. Try your lighting. Try your colors. Try the different foods that you prepare. Try the kind of thing that you're thinking. Try singing hymns that you know, and get through those anxious parts of the day. Now, I'm not saying that every homemaker will have these problems, but some people do, and everybody's different. And it wouldn't matter whether you were home or not. Everybody has something that they have to overcome. So getting dressed, getting ready helps, and taking care of your home helps create your own weather. And so no matter what's going on out there in the world, no matter what's going on in the political scene, people will be able to depend that you and your home are always dependable in a certain way, always dependable in your hospitality and in your calmness at home. Now, homemaking, I was going to also say one more thing before I go on to homemaking, and that is, I read many years ago, perhaps in the late 1950s, that we had books in our home, and I can't remember the name of this one, but it was about health, and there were very, very few books available about natural health, and none available. You couldn't get a medical manual or anything like that in those days, so you can today. But this book was talking about physical therapy, and it was kind of a new thing in those days, but it was for people that had had injuries. And it was talking about how anxiety could be the result of strained muscles and pinched muscles, and I didn't think very much about it. And they were talking about how if you sleep and you didn't sleep well, and it could be something to do with the way that you slept, and just things like that. And I always remembered it. And then I discovered when I was doing the Fabulous 50s chair exercises that that the anxiety, any kind of stress, any kind of tension, any kind of feeling of apprehension, even I used to get a little stiff in my body when I was thinking, oh, in 2 hours I've got to fix dinner. And so I started to prepare, try to be alert to it, mentally prepare for it. But I always had kind of a tension that went along with it. But I discovered with these exercises that were just simple stretch exercises, and listening carefully to the instructions on how to hold yourself when you were moving, that the tension has almost completely disappeared. Now, if I skip a couple of days of the exercises, it can come back. So I am determined to do it. Now, let me know if you have tried Fabulous 50s, some of her exercises, and if you feel well, and how what your mood is like. And I think that's really important, is your mood. Now, we can always do exercises, jump around, and lose 20 pounds, but not be in a good mood. these are very interesting in that they do put you in a very good mood. And I do think there's something to that, that if you have anxiety and apprehension, that you could have pinched muscles, because I have worked out some of the kinks in my right shoulder, and I feel so much more alert, and I feel a little bit more, I would say, I can I can recall my thoughts better, and I can remember where I put things. And that's weird, because I've just been used to always be hunting something that I set down. And just, how can you lose something when you haven't even left the house? How can you lose it in a small house? And there's not many places you could lose it. Well, I could do that. Well, now I know where I last was when I had the item that I was, like my pen or my phone. I know where I was, and I can track it all up to some of the exercises. It does unpinch your muscles and your nerves, and it does make such a difference. But you'll have to try them, because not everyone is the same. And what you have to do with any kind of exercise that you choose is you have to be careful not to say, well, that was too hard and I couldn't keep up with her. Just do one of each set. Just do two. And then quit. You know, if it's a 5-minute exercise and you've had enough by 4, just quit. You don't have to give up. That's the thing, you can't give up. Now I want to go into homemaking now and suggest something about the family that's probably going to be on the people part. But the home is created. The home is for the family, and that's why I go around and try to fix things in each, like I've got a tea station in each room. It's to serve people. It's to make life pleasant and convenient for them. And so even when the children were home, I tried to make a home for them so that they would have happiness. And I had hoped that they would be able to grow and develop from that, because if you're homeschooling your children, I think the first thing you have to do is make the atmosphere pleasant. You have to make it a pleasant experience. Home has got to be a place where they learn their values from what you teach them, and it isn't just a bunch of books, but it also has to be making the place pleasant. Now, some of you who are alone, I don't want to leave you out, but that is important for you too. You're a person. You were created by God, and He wants you to have a place too. You know, I was reading in the Old Testament about how the children of Israel had come out of slavery, and how God didn't want them to be in a land that wasn't theirs. He wanted them to have their land, and how the land of Canaan, I guess, was divided up, and every tribe got their own piece of land, and God wanted them to have a place to live. He wanted them to have a home. So provide for your children the very best you can, and give them the best that you can possibly afford of having a real home, a place that feels like a real home, that's lovely, that does not make them feel inferior. And for the most part, it depends on the mother and the homemaker to make that home absolutely wonderful. I remember a story I read of a young man whose mother had championed the atheist movement, and he was saying that they went from home to home and didn't really have a place. There was never a picture on the wall. There was never pretty dishes on the table. There was, nothing was ever cleaned up, and it was just so dismal. So it has a lot to do with, the home has a lot to do with your spiritual attitude and with the outcome of your life. So make sure that you focus on that and make it as pleasant as a place you possibly can. One of the books I read when my children were really young was Emily Barnes' The Spirit of Loveliness, and she had a book with some lovely sketches in it and some ideas for making each room pleasant. And I don't know if you can still get that book, but it was one of the early ones. I know nowadays they have so many pretty things out. You can go to Pinterest, and you can also order really wonderful books on the atmosphere of the home and making it lovely. And there are also videos you can watch. So in homemaking, also, I think besides your daily work, now your daily work would be things like making sure the kitchen is clean. The reason I suggest the kitchen, the laundry room, and the bathroom is those are the 3 places that will need to be sanitary. Those are the 3 places that you need to keep really, really sparkling clean. So always do that every day. And, do up your laundry. You just, any place that is the wet spot of the house, you want to make sure you keep those places really, really clean. The laundry, the kitchen, and the bathroom. And then you're able to function kind of in a sanitary manner at home. And so with the homemaking and all that work that you do, it's very important, I think, and we were taught this in the olden days, that we should have other interests that we could use all of our lives. So the women at home weren't just always working. They weren't always doing. They did what they had to do, and then they did what they wanted to do. And so some of the things that would have included would have been an art journal, would have been playing an instrument or doing some kind of needlework, something that they like to do, maybe something in nature. I know my mother really loved her strawberry patch in her garden. She really enjoyed that in the summer. And in the winter, she read a lot. She read a lot of books. And I think it's also important to learn something new. If you possibly have got any little bit of time, that's the one thing you can do to keep from getting discouraged by the end of the day, is knowing that towards the end of the day, okay, now is my time to learn something new, and go and find something new. And recently I have been looking at different things on YouTube to see what I could learn, and one of them was about the Acadians and the Cajuns. Now, I told you before that these people were related, and one was from Canada and the other was from Louisiana. Now, Louisiana and Canada are a long ways away from each other. How were these Canadians related to the ones and the people in Louisiana? Well, they had a French language, and the French in Louisiana and the French in Canada were apparently related. And so how did this happen? So I've been reading about this and listening to videos about their language and about, what happened to the Canadians and the Cajuns. And in Louisiana, apparently, it was Acadians, and just got gradually changed to Cajuns, and they have their special music and their foods and their languages. And I ran across several videos where young women were speaking the Louisiana French and asking the people in France to say if they could understand it. And so it was very interesting, because every language changes according to how far away and how long they have been away from the original language. And I thought it was interesting also that the Acadians were there, the Canadians were there because they had been expelled from their country, I believe in the 1800s, maybe, expelled from their country, and they were the French-speaking ones, and they had nowhere to go, and they went to Louisiana, which fascinates me because it's such a long ways that they would go down there, but because, of course, they were speaking French too, and there were other reasons too. But if you would like to look up something like that, just type in, when you get to YouTube, whatever happened to the Acadians / Cajuns, and see what their language was and what kind of people they were, what their customs were, what their culture was like. And I find it quite fascinating because the people I know, now my mother was Canadian, and my father was from the South. And the people that I knew in Canada, when they went on vacations, they wouldn't come to Washington or Oregon or Idaho. They'd go to Louisiana or Florida. I guess it's so different. Who would want to go to a place that was just like where they came from? So Washington and Oregon are quite similar to some of the Canadian provinces. And so my father was from Texas, and he married my mother, who was in the prairies of Canada. And I've also known several other Southerners that had married people in Canada. I find this extremely interesting. And they also had a way of saying things, like even the English language in Louisiana is different and includes a lot of French words. So I'm just learning more about that. You might want to do that yourself. I did show some things last time that I was studying and reading about because I just wanted to know more. And so learn something new, and even if it's, exercises. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is that in homemaking, just like in exercising, you can't always do the same thing over and over and over and keep your vibrancy and your relevancy to your family. If you do the same thing the same way over and over, it's good to change things out a little bit. It's good to change some things. Like I've got several sets of dishes, and so in a different season I'll get a different set out. It's good for people to have some variety, and it's the same with the exercises. You can't do the same thing over and over every day, because you'll get to a point where you're stuck and nothing will change in your health or in your weight. And you have to change things around, maybe do them different time of day, or maybe do a different routine. And so it is the same. It's also the same with Bible study. A lot of people just have their favorite things they like to read over and over, and you need to grow and you need to learn. Your mind needs to be exercised, and so you need to read different things and find out new things too that you didn't know before. Now I went through 2 books of the Bible just to kind of summarize them. I did Genesis, Exodus, and Genesis was the creation, and also the story of Abraham and Sarah, and then Isaac and Jacob and Joseph, and then Moses and Noah. Before that, there was Noah before that, shortly after the creation, and then there was Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Joseph, and then Moses at the end. And then Exodus is continuing on the story of Moses and the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, and there are a lot of incidents that happened in Exodus, and so I invented a new initial, and that is AE after the Exodus, and BC is before captivity. And that's just for my current situation. And so then we want to go to Leviticus. See, Exodus is also where Exodus 20 was when the 10 Commandments were given on the tablets of stone, and the children of Israel were coming out of Egypt, where they had been slaves, and they had a whole different lifestyle. Now they were nomads, and slavery was so different, because they would have been in their houses, and they would have had kind of a steady life, and they would have had their food provided for them and their work provided for them, and rather typical. Now they were on a different type of life, and they had to be told how to behave with other people, and on this journey, all the things that they would come up against. And so then we come to Leviticus, and that is the tribe of Levi and the priests and all the rules that they had to live by. And Numbers was the numbering of the children of Israel. And for homeschool, this is really interesting. You add those tribes up, and the numbers are there, and see what you can count, what the children, teach them how to add, and then when they get old enough to add those numbers up of all the different tribes and see what the answer is, what the sum is, and then go to the chapter that tells what the sum is, because it was added also by God in the writing of Leviticus, and see if they come up with the right answer. So that's how you can use mathematics in the Bible. So Leviticus and Numbers is about numbering the children of Israel as they went out. So I thought that was something that could be used in many ways. And some people won't read Leviticus or Numbers because it is really tedious. It's telling about these rituals and laws and things they had to abide by. And then, of course, reading Numbers is not exciting. But when you understand, it's like I've told people when I want them to watch one of my period movies, I have to say, you won't understand this, so let me tell you what the plot is. And it's the same with if someone tells you what Leviticus and Numbers are about, you can understand it better and find more meaning in reading it. So I've done Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, and the next one will be Deuteronomy, and those are the first 5 books of the Bible, often called the Pentateuch. So Genesis is about the generations, and Exodus is about the exit, and Leviticus is about the Levites, and Numbers is about numbers. Okay, so I think it's important to read it just to know what is in it, and don't get too upset over what happened or why the first time you read it through, because it will come to you eventually. The understanding will get there. Just read it and know what happened, know what was in it, okay? So now I have a question here. Is that God loves the family, then why do some families who so dearly want to have a loving, kind, and gentle family and want to have a cohesive family, somehow that never comes their way, or there's always some kind of conflict going on? Well, I've been reading a book called, I don't want to tell you the name of it, but it's about Karl Marx. And it's a recent book that has been written. It's really opened my eyes to what is going on here, and that is that the thing that stands in the way of communist control of people is the family. So naturally, conflict will be created in your family members as you get older. Children, they've gone out to work, and they'll meet someone at work, or the way the workplace is structured is often very much like communism in a way. And so they come home, and the people at work are talking about different things, listening to different music, dressing a little differently, and being quite bold in the way they act around other people. So your young person comes home from his or her first job and starts to criticize the family. And so what do you do when members of the family, particularly a grown child, begins to attack your values? Well, after reading about Karl Marx and what he did, what I would do, what he did was he combined Lenin and Freud in a kind of a little program that he made up, and I'm sure there were more people and money behind it than just him. And that was, you take this strict regulation of people and you mix it with a hatred for the family and call everybody who's a Christian sick or mentally deranged, that they need therapy. And that's been going on for a long, long time. In fact, even in Christ's time, and the Apostle Paul, didn't one of the governors say, Paul, much learning has made you mad? And so Christians and those who believe in God have always been looked at as mentally ill. So you get someone in your family that's gone, maybe spent a whole day listening to the music in the coffee shop that they work in or whatever, and they come home and their eyes are kind of dull and glazed over. They don't look in you in the eye. You notice a change right away, and that is that they're losing their grip on the family values. And so what I would suggest you do is you dig your heels in and establish those beliefs all the more. Repeat them, do them, whatever it is you like to do, your traditions, your politeness, your courtesies, your routine. And sometimes these people, and it doesn't even have to be a child of yours, it could be someone that comes into your home and somehow they like to upset the routine and the values and create an upheaval in the home. Some people will even just stage events in the home, just stage a big blow up, and you and your husband will sit there shocked with your eyes wide open like, what did we do, And the whole idea is that I have discovered just by reading this book about communism was that when they can't prove you are wrong according to the Bible. Now, many people like to take the Bible. This is what Karl Marx did. He knew some of the Bible. And so what he would do is he would take some value of the Bible and then accuse people of not following it. And this is what people like to do to Christians, especially Christian homemakers, is they'll say, well, the Bible says such and such, and you're not doing it. And they'll push, and they're not doing it either, but they will push and push and push, and they kind of know what Christians are supposed to be like, so they accuse them of doing wrong or neglecting to live the life, calling it a sham. They're not really living the life that they claim they love. And when they cannot prove you wrong, according to what the Bible says, then they'll twist the law, they'll twist the Bible to mean something else. Or if they can't successfully do that, they will attack you. And so don't act confused. Isn't there a scripture that says, why are you, don't be confused. I believe it's in Proverbs. Don't be confused by their hard looks or their attacks, because that's what they do. And I think it's really important when you've got some kind of worry or conflict in your home to keep your personal goals steadily ahead of you. In other words, don't just cast everything aside and sigh and sit in a chair and not do anything. You might be in the middle of doing something really important in your home, and somebody says something to you that just devastates you, and it's hard for you to focus again. I would say just dig your heels in further and go ahead and live your values. Get dressed up in the morning. Be smiling, be happy. One of the things that really, it's like kryptonite to these people, to these sourpusses that you know. It doesn't have to actually be a family member, but a smile is like kryptonite to them. They just kind of, they only get any strength out of destroying you, of making you cry, of making you give up, of making you feel defeated. They don't want you to get ahead, especially if they are not convicted about being at home and being a homemaker. So they like to upset you. They'll say things like, why do you do the same stuff over and over? And what have you ever done with your life? They'll tell you things like that. You don't need to argue with them about it. Just say, that's my business. So also keep personal goals steadily in front of you, and make goals that are achievable. So they're not a forever goal that you never can quite get finished. Every now and then somebody will say, how are you doing on that, whatever it was, project you had that you were going to do, and it never did get finished. So just make real short, achievable goals. And keep the dullness out of homemaking by changing things around, changing your routine around, and every few years, you can do things that are a little bit bigger, like repaint the house. Now, as far as dressing for your day, and people who tend to look at you funny or critical, one of the great things about captivity is you can do what you want, and you don't have to endure their looks and their surprise at seeing you looking nice or in a skirt, and you don't have to worry about that. And so you don't get all that negative back and bring that home. So now I want to show you something that someone gave me that came in the mail. Now, I don't like people to send me things because the postage is so high, but nonetheless, there are some people that don't want to donate online, or they just want to do something. So I have a box here that someone gave me, and it says it's a box they got at the fabric store. It says patterns from Simplicity. There weren't any patterns in it, but it's a neat little box. So let me see what it was in it. Well, first of all, she sent me this flower. Isn't that gorgeous? Now, these old-fashioned flowers had wire in the petals. See there? That's interesting. And then it's a little clip, so you can clip it on something. I find that so nice. Should I wear it like Auntie Mame? Remember in the movie Auntie Mame, where she had lost her fortune or something, and so her servants decided to stay with her, and they gave her a Christmas surprise with some of the money she'd paid them. They put on a little party for her, and one of the packages had a bow on it, so she just put it in her hair, and she didn't have a hat, and so she just put this thing in her hair like this, and she was just undauntable, wasn't she? And so now let me see. I'll show you that one later. She included in this box a ribbon, a spool of ribbon that has the vintage clothing on it. Isn't that pretty? That's nice. And then she gave me a notebook. I go through these things so fast. So she gave me a notebook, and it's a planner for 2021. So then it has little tabs in it that you can fill out yourself, and those are awful small spaces, but I could use them. I'll just stretch them out. And special days and goals, birthdays, things like that. And then, of course, this was stuffed with this shredded stuff. This is neat. Now, there used to be little home machines that people that crafted could do, and they could make their own stuff like this. I haven't seen them around, but I'll save that and use it for something else. So, and then I had a class with one of my granddaughters, and she had a card making class, and she had sent me the materials for it in the mail and sent me the date, and we got together on Zoom and was FaceTime and did a craft, and I got to make this card. And while she was showing how it's done, I was thinking what a nice idea this would be for people who are very isolated, lonely, and don't think they have any talent or skills or crafting abilities, because all this was glue. And she included the ribbon that has a little bit of a gold on the edge, and she included everything else, and she just told you what to do, and then she sent an envelope to go with it. And I was thinking, it's very simple. It took very little time, but it was a good time to sit down. I was thinking how much someone would appreciate doing something like that, but I think you could do it without sending the materials. I think you could just tell them what to get, things that they needed to have on hand on some kind of project that you would like to do. Let me see what else I have here that I can show you. Okay, I had company the other day, because some people, they just like to visit people in captivity, so I wanted to show you what she brought me and how she did it up. So it's kind of neat. I think her and I, we're the ones that exchange. We live in the same state, and we're the ones that exchange stuff we don't want anymore. And she brought me this gift, and look at the ribbon she used matches the colors in this book, and it's called Country Wisdom. Of course, I need wisdom, especially in the country. And then the little bottle of peony shower gel. I haven't seen peony in a long, long time. Do you remember years ago, back in the 1980s, there was this company called Lady Primrose, and it was a lady in Texas who the lady had gone overseas to live in England for a while for a business that her husband was in, and so her granddaughter wrote to her, and they wrote to each other, and she called herself Lady Primrose, and the little girl called herself something else, and they wrote back and forth. So when she got back, she created Lady Primrose, which was a bath and perfume type of company, and you can read those. You can see the ads in the old 1980s Victoria magazines, and I have those. Anyway, this is Simple Country Wisdom, and what I did, the first thing that I came to, for some reason, it just flipped open on that page, was how to iron laundry, and it was you sprinkle them. We used to have these bottles that had a sprinkler on the top, and you'd fill them with water, and you sprinkle them all over the shirts. This is before permanent press, the olden days. And you roll up the clothes, and you'd stick them in the refrigerator. And we did that. That's what we did. Now, those that didn't have refrigerators, you just roll them up and put them somewhere cool, and then you would iron them. So, ladies, I hope that you have got quite a few things done in this in captivity, and actually we should be able to come out on the other side of captivity being more organized, having brighter, happier homes. As you can see, my house needs painting, and this door needs to be fixed and everything, but I've got that on my long list of 100 things to do, and I think we could come out actually better and more rested. One of the ladies that came to see me recently said she hadn't been out very much at all, and a lot of her activities that she liked to do were kind of closed up, and so she said that she has had the most wonderful rest, and she didn't even know she wasn't rested. And she said she feels wonderful, and it's just been beautiful. And that she said she felt happier and not so impatient. So we can come out the other side of this stronger, more physically fit, healthier, eat a salad every day, and we can come out of this with more skills, more talents, and we can come out smarter and younger maybe for some of us, and we can actually come out with a better perspective of life and get to know God better. We've got more reason to do it now, and probably less stress on our time, less demands on our time, and maybe we can develop better routines and just more time for all of our loved ones. And so I hope that you will leave a comment and tell me some of the things that you got done. That's always appreciated. It gives me some ideas. If you've got anything that you want me to talk about that I might know about, I don't know that I will know about it, but just give me some ideas. Maybe I can launch into it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got quite a few things done. Maybe a bedroom cleaned up, a drawer cleaned out, the dishes done, something baked, some laundry done, and I hope that you will grow and learn something new and do some exercises. Go and do some of those chairs. She has 3 chair exercises where you just sit in the chair and you move around and listen to her instructions and do them and see how you feel afterwards. So ladies, God bless you. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for some of you who are sending donations and helping me buy my groceries. I'm loving it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.